What's up, guys? So today you get to hear from Steve. Steve has a really interesting story. He just finished his challenge. I think you're really going to enjoy it. One thing about Steve is that he did not feel happy with his results at the end. So at the end of the challenge, we had a tough conversation. But a few days after that, he started to realize that he'd really done some great things. Steve hadn't done this before, and so it was really tough for him to make some of these changes. He doesn't share this in the video, but since then, a lot of his health markers have really improved too. So he's feeling a lot better about his health. Now, he wasn't a fan of being on the internet or social media, so we did blur his face for this podcast. All right, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Welcome. I've known you for, I think, over 2 years now. During that time we've trained. I know you as a great family man, someone who loves the game of golf and loves Michigan football.
Yes, those are all true.
Could you give us, our viewers, a quick intro about you?
Well, I split my time between Arizona and Michigan. I live in the Detroit area. I've lived there 40 years. Married, 3 kids. They're all grown, but they seem to come around a lot still, so that's good. That means they want to come around. Semi-retired. I still have some work I do, but it doesn't take a lot of time, mainly with real estate and commercial buildings. And I work out a lot with you.
You do, yeah. So it sounds like you still have a lot on your plate, a lot of things that you do, a lot of things that you enjoy. You've been a successful entrepreneur, and you're still continuing to do that.
Yes, yeah. I still have businesses. I still do a lot of different things, but I would say, semi-retired. And that's a good feeling too. I do what I want, pretty much when I want, but there's still requirements and still things I have to do, but it doesn't dominate my time like it used to.
Steve, could you tell me a little bit about your athletic history, currently what you do for activity and things like that?
Well, my athletic history was just I played a lot of sports. I was never on many teams. I wasn't big enough, to be perfectly blunt. I certainly wasn't tall enough. But I like playing sports. So I did that my whole life, or at least until I started to get injured. And I backed off from that, tore my Achilles, countless sprained ankles, a bad knee, and it just got to the point where it wasn't worth getting hurt anymore. But I've always been active. I have not been sedentary. But that's really it. I mean, just playing with friends, playing in intramural leagues, that kind of stuff, but nothing on any significant teams or anything like that.
So it sounds like you grew up playing sports and doing things that were active. It sounds like you have always led an active, non-sedentary life. What attracted you to training in general?
Training with you?
Yeah.
Well, I was just doing what I thought I should be doing, and that was mostly wrong. It didn't hurt, but I don't think it helped me much. I think I was just treading water at best. So when we met you and we decided to start training with you, it was obvious that training differently than I had, no doubt about that, but I thought I was doing it the right way. Core exercises. We spend half of our time doing stuff that I never did before. Yeah. And we never do some of the things a lot of the stuff I used to do before, hitting the weight rack and things like that. I used to lift weights and, barbell curls and the bench press and all that kind of stuff. And we do a little of that, but not nearly as much as I was doing. So that's what attracted me to it, and we stuck with it. So I'm still happy with the results we're getting. So
you're happy with those results of doing something different than you kind of knew how to do before, it sounds like.
Yes, yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just making it up as I went along. I'd just do some curls because I felt like it. I'd do some bench presses because that's what it looked like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I walk a lot, things like that. I do walk quite a bit, but what I was doing, I really knew that it wasn't the best for me. It wasn't hurting me, but I wasn't getting very far with it. It wasn't, like I said, I was treading water, which is better than going under,
sure.
But that's what I was doing.
I gotcha. So it sounds like you've found a high value in, or even a high return on investment in having somebody guide you to doing what you didn't know how to do before when it comes to your health and fitness.
Oh, correct. And that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because it forces me, like we meet 3 times a week. I don't do it because, if we don't have these set up times, I won't do it. That's not why I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing it because what we're doing in those sessions is the correct stuff. Mm-hmm. At least I believe that, that we're doing the right exercise and we're not doing things that are a waste of time and or not beneficial or maybe detrimental. I'm not doing those anymore. I'm not doing squats. I'm not doing any of this crazy stuff that I used to think I should be doing.
Yeah. You have been an active guy. You're a guy who enjoys training and doing something that is for yourself, for your own health and fitness. What attracted you to do this 12-week challenge?
Well, even though we've been training 2 years, I thought this would maybe be a little more intensive for 90 days because I wasn't exactly getting where I wanted to go, at least is not as fast as I was expecting or hoping. So it seemed like a good idea to maybe just focus on this for 90 days and see really what I could do. And that's why.
It sounds like you saw the opportunity with this time to focus on what you wanted to do and being able to accomplish that.
Yes, because there was also an end date because you don't want to focus on something you're going to do for the next 9 years. I mean, there's got to be some results. There's got to be some timelines and milestones. And 90 days was a good amount of time. So I wanted to see, one, if I could do it for 90 days. As I've mentioned to you before, I could do anything for 2 days. You know, if you said eat healthy and work out real hard for 2 days, I could do that. Yeah. 90 days, that's a different animal. That's more of a lifestyle change. Or
there you go, lifestyle change.
Yes, it's not just I can suck it up for 48 hours and then at the other end, I go out and, get a big steak and a bunch of cheese fries.
Us guys, we have this tendency to be able to like suck it up and just knock it out and do something. But, it sounds like having that 12-week, that 90-day time period solidified it as something that was not only difficult to do and worth doing, but allowed it to be a lifestyle change in the end.
Oh, exactly. And also the 90 days, it gave you a few times if you hit road bumps or speed bumps, not so much that you were deviating from the plan, but life gets in the way. Yeah. I'd have to leave for 3 days for work, and you act differently when you're doing that, when you're working all the time or working for 3 straight days, whatever it might have been, or even traveling for fun. Yeah. It's hard to not slip up a little bit. Yeah. And if this program was only 3 weeks, you can't slip up for 4 days. That's a quarter of the time.
Part of your life is traveling. Part of your life is working. There's all these other things that come into play. And to do the 90 days like that, you're going to go through those things. And I think that's such an important piece when it comes to that sustainability and it comes to actually accomplishing a goal, right?
Yes, exactly. That's why I like the program. It was 90 days. In case you slip up for whatever reason, that was fine. But you also could see some measurable results, I thought, in 90 days and not in a week or in a couple days. You feel better, but you look the same, you feel the same, you weigh the same. But that's why the 90 days seemed pretty good.
So when it comes to this challenge, what was your biggest struggle within the challenge?
Oh, the nutrition, because I never paid any attention to that before, ever.
Never paid attention to any.
No, I try to eat well, but I certainly never looked at a label. Yeah. I just didn't do that. I freely admit that. And there's some habits I had. I don't drink at all, never really have. Yeah. So that's a good thing. But there's some things I like doing that I know weren't good for me. But I did them anyway. And I thought 90 days also, if you stop for 90 days, there's a pretty good chance that'll be sustainable going past that 90-day window. Like I said, I could quit for a weekend. Sure, I could eat all healthy and drink nothing that's bad for me, like pop or whatever it might be, go right back to it then. Right. But 90 days, if I don't do this for 90 days, there's a much better chance that this is something I can sustain. It's possible for me. Sustainability. I wanted to win the whole thing, which I didn't, but in 90 days. But I also thought if I got through 90 days, I could keep going with this, which I have. And that's really something I'm very happy about. I have not regressed back to what I was, even though, as we also discussed, some of the results weren't exactly to my liking. I was hoping for more. Maybe that wasn't realistic. I don't really know. But I did make progress.
Yes. You made progress. And do you feel like you know more and are capable more now finishing the challenge than you were in the beginning?
Oh, definitely. I didn't even know what I was doing at the beginning. Yeah. I go into that food program. I didn't even know what I was doing. And as I mentioned to you one time, I'd put in what I ate. Yeah. Instead, if I'm being honest, I just had 9 servings of this.
Yeah.
It comes up and says 1 serving is only 40 calories. I felt good about it. The problem is I had 9 of them. So paying attention to that, the volume, actually what I was eating, that was very difficult for me. It still is, but that was difficult. And then recording it and putting it in essentially a diary of what you're eating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a food diary. I mean, and it sounds like that was very time consuming. It was difficult. But it also sounds like it helped build your skill set when it came to nutrition and build that toolbox.
Well, it did. I mean, I got a long way to go on that, but certainly not as long as I had 90 days ago or 120 days ago. I have cut out some things completely. I don't miss them. I think I can do that.
You really impressed me with some of the things you did during the challenge. I'm not sure if I used those words before, but because you chose the hard path, and I think that's really, really important. You chose the hard path of restriction, complete restriction. So, is there anything you want to share about that?
Well, as I talked about, this is a bad habit. I like to drink Coke and Pepsi. I've always liked it. I've always had it. I grew up in a family that we had one rule in the house. My aunt would say, "You don't drink the last Pepsi." That was the rule that we had in the house because she liked it, so we had drank it. And I didn't drink like 4 or 5 a day. I'd have one, but I knew it wasn't good for me. They're empty calories. It's lots of sugar, all the bad stuff that you could possibly have. And I liked it. I drank it. So I decided I'm going to quit. I've tried that before, to be honest with you, and I didn't get very far. But this time it's been probably 100 days now since our challenge, maybe even longer.
It's been 120.
120.
So long, they're uncountable.
Right. And that's only, 120 is a third of a year. I think where I might be in 2 years total without doing that. I mean, I'm trending in the right direction. I just wanted to trend faster, and that was what was some of my disappointment was. And maybe it wasn't realistic, but I was hoping it was.
Well, I think that's that day was it was a tougher conversation, and I think that 30 days after, you're still going, you're still doing this. It sounds like that you feel you really got a benefit still from that, even though you may not have accomplished exactly what you wanted to.
Well, definitely. I mean, I think because I'm a numbers person, I'm an engineer by trade. I get on the scale, and that tells me something. I don't care how I feel about it. I'm looking at what it is.
The number, what it is, yeah.
And that was a little disappointing that it wasn't better. But I bet you if I got on the scale today, I'd even be a better number for me. Yes. Because I've continued, what'd you say, another 40 days? Or
30 days more.
30 days. I'm sure it'd be even a better number. So that's what the sustainability meant so much for me. Is I got to be able to do stuff that I can keep doing after this challenge and not be in pain or miserable every day because I don't get to imbibe or enjoy some things that I used to.
And that's important, enjoying things that you want to, because there's our routine and things that we should be doing, but also you have to enjoy life. So aside from the sustainability, that's a big focus of the challenge. Getting focused on what you're doing daily, right? What you need to do daily to reach your goal, right? Is a big piece of the challenge. So that focus, that time piece. But another really big piece of the challenge is that we wanted this to build your ability to go beyond this. And it sounds like you're continuing to do that.
Yes, for sure. That's when I'm most happy. I'm a lot happier today than I was the day the challenge ended, because I've continued to do for another 30 days what got me to the end of that challenge. And that was my biggest concern going into this. I mean, I met some of the other guys. We challenged other people. And, some of them are Navy SEALs. And I knew I wasn't going to beat them. But that really wasn't what I was doing. It would have been nice to beat them, but that wasn't my primary focus. And I've got some benefits out of it, I think I shared with you that my son saw me. Now, that's what's fun, is when somebody that hasn't seen you in a while sees you, and they notice a difference in your appearance. And he actually said to me, your shape is a little different. And I knew, based on my prior shape, that had to be a compliment. It wasn't a criticism.
I'm so glad you brought that up and shared that, because I thought that was such a profound moment. And, the feeling of having those who you love around you. And I know you're, just a wonderful family man, and you really love your kids, and to hear that from someone you love.
Yes, it was, and especially for my son, because sometimes getting something out of him is very difficult. But it was genuine, and it made me feel really good. And he wasn't doing it just to make me feel good. He said, "Yeah, you look different. You look better."
So, Steve, what was the best thing you got out of this challenge, you think?
Well, I think we've already touched on it. Something that I could sustain, because the diet part. And 90% of this challenge, if you ask me, is diet. Okay, you still have to work out, you still have to do that, but I think 90% of it was diet and paying attention to what you ate, which I just had never done. I never really struggled with it. I just got to a point where, I've kind of gone the wrong direction a little too far, and that's why I wanted to do it. So that was the biggest thing, being able to continue to do it, realizing how important that nutrition is, even though it sounds obvious.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's what you eat. You are what you eat. We've all heard that countless times, but I never really paid attention to it because I was never I never felt uncomfortable. I was always athletic enough to fake my way through things. So, because, I could play basketball. I loved it. I don't do that anymore, but just going out and walking on a golf course, you got to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And it was not a challenge, but it wasn't as easy as it used to be. So I want to get back to where I can get to where I was maybe 15, 20 years ago as far as stamina. And that meant big changes in my nutrition. And it just, I'm thick head sometimes when it comes to this. I don't know how much can what you eat slow you down.
Yeah.
Well, it does.
It does. So it sounds like that was an important piece of this challenge for you, the focus on nutrition and sustainability in your life and getting you back to where you wanted to be. Definitely.
Yeah. And I know I sound like a broken record, but that was what it was for me. And there's some benefits along the way that I shared with you about my son. Yeah. And there are also things a little disappointing that, the weigh-in, because that's a cold, hard fact staring you in the face. You're like, oh.
You got to have those pieces, those finite pieces within the challenge that connect us to, that are connected with, rather, the infinite piece that we kind of talk about, that mindset focus that we also have in the challenge, right? That the infinite is also the infinite goal versus the finite goal, right? Yeah, the numbers, that's the raw data, but why we want to do it is also really important as well.
Correct. And I thought the physical and the mental was fine, but I was a setback that day. I'm not going to lie. That was a setback. But, like anything else, always some good rule of thumbs I've lived by is I don't make decisions when I'm tired or angry. So I just let it go for a few days. And, okay, that wasn't what the result I really wanted as far as a number, but I was trending in the right way. Yes. Now, if I was trending in the wrong way, it may not have worked.
But that was great because you got to see, I did X and I got Y. And I believe I've shared this before, and I talk about it all the time, is that, you do X, you have to do X, right? And then you get Y, and you say, I did X, I got Y. This is what I did, this is what I got. And then you get to evaluate that, and you get to see, okay, did I like doing that? Did I not like it? Okay, what does that mean for my next decision? Am I going to do more of that? Am I going to do the same? Am I going to go back and not do that anymore? Right? I think it's a very, very important process when it comes to doing this.
And that's why I didn't make a decision right away, because I said, I worked all this time, 90 days. I cut out the things I didn't want it, and I barely got anywhere as far as some numbers. I got someplace. Yeah. So what was the point of that? All that, I could have enjoyed myself for 90 days and about been at the same spot.
So it sounds like the evaluation of kind of that time then led to even more growth after that.
Yes. Took a few days, so.
Okay. It can't all be, enjoyable. And I think that a lot of times there's, through any challenge, right? The word challenge in my mind brings up difficulty, pain, that everything you want is on the other side of that difficulty, the other side of that challenge, on the other side of that pain.
Of course. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Well, we work out with Elisa, and, she's the one talking 90% of the time. Yes. But, yes, and maybe it was a good thing. And I thought about this 3 days after we did the weigh-in. But say I would have lost a lot more than I thought, as far as just weight and pounds and so forth. I might have said to myself, well, this was easy. I can kind of go back to what I was doing, and then if I want to turn it on again, I could turn it on and lose the weight again because it was so easy. It wasn't easy. Okay, so I don't want to go backwards. Yeah. It's like, oh, boy, I have to lose 20 pounds. I just have to focus for a month or so. Well, that didn't happen. Yeah. So that makes you a little more in tune to your body saying, I can't accelerate this process. It's going to be a slow walk for a long time. And I'm fine with that.
It sounds like the result after the 90 days was tough. But if you could describe, these 30 days, would you say they were as tough or less tough or more tough after the challenge, the 30 days after the challenge?
Well, less tough, because once you start doing something and you stay with it, no matter how hard it is, I think it gets easier to continue doing it. The mental aspect of it. It didn't get harder, because now it may have if I would have decided what I was going to do that day. I said, no, just back off, wait 4 days, figure out what you want to do. Because I wasn't happy after our meeting. I said, no, I just want to keep going. I want to keep going.
It sounds like taking that time to reflect on that allowed you to view it in a different way and really derive a success from that.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how else to rephrase it, but yes, it was it was disappointing that day, but I said, I don't want to give up what I've done, even though I wish I would have done more or had better results. But
you did something good.
Yeah. I thought, well, you kept telling me that, and I believed you.
I believe you did. That's the truth. So Steve, what is the one thing that you would tell someone who is trying to get fitter, be healthier, and lose some weight?
It's a long haul. You're not going to fix this overnight. And I thought I could maybe to some degree because I entered a contest, but that didn't do it. It's more than that. And you got to pay attention to what you eat. It's all nutrition.
So it's going to be a long haul, and you got to pay attention, especially to your nutrition.
Especially your nutrition. And I never paid attention to it in 62 years.
So it sounds like this challenge really did help you pay attention to your nutrition.
Yes. Yeah, I had to. I had to put in the food and that food diary every day, which doesn't take long, but it was a pain in the neck to do. I just didn't even want to do it.
I've been getting that a lot. It's a pain to do, but the benefits from it are,
yes. But it was frustrating. Like, so, okay, I ate a piece of sourdough bread. I ate 6 of them. That's all I ate. Okay, it was 40 calories. That sounds good. Yeah. 240 doesn't sound as good.
It got you in touch. Well, you shared as an engineer earlier. It got you in touch with those hard numbers. Like, what is this? What information am I giving my body with this? Right.
Correct. So it was just nutrition. I don't see. I'm not trying to simplify things too much.
No, this is great.
It's nutrition, and you still have to combine that with working out and exercising and aerobic stuff, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not eating right, you're running in mud, as I said to you before. I mean, you're not getting anywhere real fast.
It sounds like, I was holding you accountable. I was coaching you through the mindset pieces of it, but it sounds like the act of having to take the time to put that in and viewing it gave you the opportunity to learn about your nutrition, but also you kind of held yourself accountable in that way as well.
Yes, and I wasn't real good at putting things in that all the time, because sometimes when you get immediate feedback, you work out for 2 hours and then you eat well for 2 days, and you get on a scale, which I never did, but I know people do this, and they weigh more. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough to go backwards like that when you're doing everything you're supposed to do.
I know during your challenge, you also had Mike with you. And one of the things that he shared that I thought was really profound, and the other guys really didn't have this, but just by coincidence, he was getting his annual blood work done. And so he got to see kind of some of the other results that come from doing something like this and affecting what you eat and how you eat. And so he got to see some really good results from his blood work. So
yes, I was really happy for him there, because the blood work is, again, there's numbers and they tell you really what's going on.
Yeah. I think so often these things come down to the physical. Whenever I ask someone what their goals are, and that's by the nature of what I do, right? It's always, well, I'd like to lose this much, or I know I need to lose this much, or I'd like to do. It always comes down to that physical piece of weight, but that's not necessarily what's always really there. We kind of, in the challenge, I designed it to have the mindset piece, and we focused on that every week. And one of the things we went into is, finding your why. And I think connecting to out there is also very powerful.
Agreed. I mean, we talked about all this a few times, and I know it's the first time today, but exactly that. I mean, but it takes a while. It takes a while. And I knew that, and I knew it going in, but I still wanted more immediate results. But I'm okay with it if I'm still trending in that right direction, which I am.
It's been now 120 days, right? So it's a third of a year. Imagine where you're going to be in 2 more thirds of the year.
Well, that's where I'm hoping to be, because I don't see this as being a struggle to continue what I'm doing.
There you go. So I think that's such a profound thing that you just shared there. Like, I don't think this is a struggle to continue to do what I'm doing. Yeah, it's going to take time. It was a struggle in the beginning, and yeah, it's going to take time, but imagine where I'm going to be in a year or even 2 years, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be in a place that you want to be.
Well, I hope to be there, and I only got myself to blame if I don't get there, but
I think you're going to do it.
All right.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks, Josh. Can't say enough about how you've helped me, and Elisa too.
It's very kind of you. Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Well, ours too, even though it's hard sometimes.
It's tough, but just going through those tough things is what gets you where you want to go. It's what makes you who you are.
Yeah, I agreed.
Well, you're a great guy, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on. I think a lot of guys are going to watch this and they're really going to get a lot of value out of hearing your story, hearing, the things that you shared about the challenge and, what was tough about it and what was good about it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So if you want to see real results from real people, go check out our client testimonials on YouTube. If you're interested in seeing more information about what you can do daily to help you get closer to your goals, follow us on socials. The links are in the description. If you'd like to learn more about the challenge, come to our website at justmovelife.com. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always on to help.